Welcome back, everybody. It's been a long time since we've done a podcast, like almost an hour.
Yeah.
This is Championship Week video notebook time, though. Day number 8. Welcome. I'm Chad Sherwood. That's David Griggs. That's John Sleeka.
All right.
We done?
And that I guess that does it for day number 8. You
Final
know,
All
thoughts,
right.
everyone.
Go to final thoughts. Okay. Let's start with let's start again the screen share up here. How about that? If we can get that to work, we can get everything to work. Double checking on the pop-up bunker. Griggs still locked away, Stalika?
Yep, it would appear he is now that he's also got his electricity back on for the second straight day.
the person that was supposed to bring me my food and whiskey did not show up today.
Well,
I
I
it,
don't.
Well,
Maybe,
no, they showed up, but it just got eaten by Molly and Sophie.
that's my pizza. But like right behind them.
looks like a cake to me.
Well, whatever.
Actually, it looks like a dog, maybe
Yeah,
a
what
dog
is
cake.
that? Yeah, Stalika, what is that?
Well, it's like
What,
you
what
said,
what are
it's
the
it's a
dogs
dog
doing?
cape. It's a Molly and Sophie's delicacy.
Okay. Where's my
Happy
food?
birthday to the dogs.
Where's
We don't
my food?
celebrate. Let's get right into it. This is our Championship Week video notebook where we're going to go over anything and everything that's been going on in college basketball at all today. We're going to be doing that every night here for the rest of Championship Week. And in fact, we've got a little thing here that you could actually don't have to watch any of the games. Just come here
Yeah.
and we'll tell you what happened. In fact, Griggs, I don't think you watched any of the games at all today. You're just going to watch our show and then you'll know what to talk about tonight.
Right. Well, it's kind of hard. The setup here in the puppet bunker is not ideal.
We had two automatic bids given out today, and let's start with the first one that was awarded actually in the Sun Belt Conference. We were talking last night about the fact that would James Madison have an at-large case if they lost this game with 29 D1 wins on the season? Well, guess what? It did not matter. Griggs, they pretty much pounded Arkansas State, did exactly what they needed to do tonight.
Yeah, and I mean it was more than 20 for a good portion of the second half. It was never in doubt. And JMU, I think, is the best team in this conference for a long while. I admit that I liked App State more. Um, it would have been interesting to see the rubber match between not the rubber match because App State beat them twice, but it would have been interesting to see what would have happened had those two played. I don't think App State has much of a case. Uh, Perhaps they get looked at to some degree, but JMU, I mean, when you look at their profile, they are going into the tournament. It is a bubble-ish profile. But when you look at them on the court, we kind of alluded to this during our Hoops HD bracket rundown show. There's a lot of teams that we put on the 11 line and even one or two on the 10 that I would rather play than play James Madison.
I'll throw this out there for Appalachian State. There's a rule that says that the first place finisher at every conference is automatically starts on the under consideration board, which means App
Yes,
State
will
will
be
automatically
considered.
start the procedure on the under consideration board. One of the first moves that the real committee and that we as our mock committee do is we vote. We can vote a lot of those teams off. I don't think Appalachian State's ever going to get voted off of that board.
No.
They may stay up there with the real committee, maybe with us also, but almost definitely with the real committee. But I think they're going to. I don't think they're ever going to really come close to actually making any of the votes to get in there.
No,
Just
and again, they had a great season, and you kind of hate that they didn't get across the finish line. But
I think it's a crime if the NIT does not call their name.
yeah, I do too. But that's one of the things. I mean, when you're an under the radar team, you basically have 6 weeks at the beginning of the year, maybe seven, to make your case. And you have to do it under circumstances that are not favorable, that you're at a big disadvantage. And if you do get those big wins, a lot of the times all you can really hope for in conference is to hold serve. It isn't like the 10 multi-bid leagues to where you can continue to improve your paper as the year goes on. You basically have to hold serve with your paper if you're under the radar. I think that that's a circumstantial disadvantage. I think if App State played in a multi-bid league, that they would probably be 4 or 5 games over 500, depending on which league it is, not the Big 12, but the A10. I think they would have done very well in there and maybe would be inside the bubble. They're
Mhm.
good.
They're good, but they're not. I don't think they're NCAA tournament good.
Yeah.
We had one other bid given out tonight. Salika, uh, close game most of the way. Get all that off there. It
All the
was
way, really.
Samford though. Buckyball is dancing with the win over ETSU.
They're going to be dancing, and there were a few nervous moments in the final minute, but East Tennessee State, even though they got to the foul line, missed too many critical free throws to really get any closer than I believe 4 points in the final minute. So with that, Samford gets their first NCAA tournament bid out of the SoCon at least.
Yeah, and great run by East Tennessee State. 4 games in 4 days, and they almost stole this tournament. Knocking off Greensboro and Chattanooga along the way,
Yeah,
but
they did.
not quite enough for Buckyball. So congrats, Samford.
Yeah,
Dangerous first round opponent for somebody too.
they are, and I do really want to congratulate Samford here. It's their first time in the tournament in 25 years, their first SoCon championship, as you just said, Chad. And Bucky McMillan was not on anyone's radar. Like he had been a successful high school coach in the Birmingham area, but again, he was a high school coach when they hired him. I think we laughed, like what the hell are they thinking? And he has been
Proved us
outstanding.
wrong.
Yeah,
Good for
proved
him.
us wrong, proved me wrong, and he's an outstanding coach. I don't know what his career aspirations are. I'd like to see him stay there and continue to build it, but I mean what he's done at a place that had no real basketball culture at all. They're big. This is a big deal for this school and this program. Congrats to them and to him and everybody, really.
Congrats. Yep. And those were two bids that were given out, but we've got a bunch more bids coming up very soon because we had a lot of semifinals today. We will begin in the Coastal Athletic Association, uh, where Sleeka, let me start with the top game with you. College of Charleston and Towson. Towson actually had a 7 point lead late, and
Like with
Charleston won
less
a
than
third. Yeah, very, very late, and yet
It was
Charleston won
50.
by 5.
Yeah, it was 55 to 48 at the final under four timeout. Initially, I thought, okay, this was like a shutout in the final 4 minutes that Charleston had pitched, but not quite. They
One
did
point,
manage
one
one
point.
free throw, but they also airballed rather badly a free throw. So Towson, as you may have guessed, lost their composure, and Charleston continues to show why they still have plenty of fight left over from last year. And now that they'll get Stony Brook, you can't completely overlook the Sea Wolves right here, but I do think this is going to be a lot less challenging than what Hofstra would potentially pose for the Cougars.
I don't agree with you. This Stony Brook team I thought they looked really good. This was a close game all the way, and they found a way to win another close game after double overtime against Drexel. Greg, Stony Brook surprisingly, onto the championship game in the Coastal.
Yeah, and they have a big head of steam built up. They should be confident. I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't necessarily think Charleston rolls all over them, but I don't think they sweat too much either. Charleston, another outstanding year under Pat Kelsey.
So we'll
Uh,
see if Stony Brook can pull off 4-4 here.
Yeah,
yeah, that's the biggest thing working against Stony Brook. Not only 4-4, but they're coming off of a double overtime game on Sunday, a really close, tough game today. I don't know what they have left in their tank for Charleston. And Charleston got a battle from Towson today, but they did not really get a battle from Monmouth on Sunday. So it's kind of, Stony Brook's gonna be a lot more tired heading into this game, I think.
yeah.
It was Horizon League semifinals today, Salika, and how about this? Milwaukee knocks off Northern Kentucky in the late game, and Oakland over Cleveland State in the early one in a pretty good game.
Well, if you're talking about the early game, it seemed like Oakland, there were times when it looked like they would finally pull away, but Cleveland State would keep chipping away. Now, Oakland nearly gave it away in the closing seconds. They had
Go ahead, tell
a
the story. This is a
4 point
good one.
Yeah, they had a 4 point lead with about 5 seconds left to go. They foul a Cleveland State player who was shooting a three from 70 feet away, I might add. So as a
I don't know why
result of that,
why he was shooting from that far that early. Actually, it was a little ridiculous,
but they saw he was going to get fouled, and he gambled that they were going to call him in the act of shooting a three. It paid off, and he ended up hitting the first two free throws, but intentionally tried to miss the third, but they weren't able to come up with the rebound. So Oakland finally able to salt that game away.
yeah, 3 players over 15 points for Greg Campy's squad there, and Griggs. Northern Kentucky was up 14 points at one point in the first half against Milwaukee,
Yeah.
and it was pretty much all Milwaukee after that. As they ended up, they were up. They turned out to a 10 point lead before NKU made a little bit of a run late.
Right. Really impressive second half for the Panthers. And a good game tomorrow. And I know if
Yes.
you're just going off of the seeding, 1 versus 6, that seems lopsided, but it really wasn't. I mean, if you followed under the radar all year, you knew what a logjam this conference was and how not much separated 1 from 7 and really not even 1 from 8. At one point, the team that we thought was the best was the eighth seed. And so it wouldn't shock me at all if Milwaukee won tomorrow. I'd love to see Greg Campy do it. I'm a fan of his. He's a long time, been a long time coach at Oakland, very successful, one of the good guys in the sport, really.
But if you want to talk about how great Milwaukee's defense had been against Marcus Work, for example, he scored 35 points at Wright State, only scored 4 points tonight. So 31-point difference. They cut off the head of the snake, and as a result, they'll move on to the championship against Oakland.
Mhm.
Sleeka, who you got, Oakland or Milwaukee?
I can't go against Campy in Oakland
I
now.
can't either.
I'm with you. I think we'll make it unanimous, which means Milwaukee's going to win the game, of
Yeah,
course, because we
probably
all
so,
picked the other
yeah.
way. It was semifinal day in the Summit League. It began with the South Dakota State St. Thomas game. We were talking about the fact if St. Thomas could have won this game and then won tomorrow night's championship, South Dakota State would get the auto bid, and we could have had that court storming by the team that had lost the round before. And none of that
Yeah.
mattered. South Dakota State got the win over the Tommies. I don't think it was even really as close as that 10-point final. They were up by
No.
20 points in this game.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm sorry, they were not up that big. But every time St. Thomas did try to make a run, South Dakota State just hammered them back. The other story, though, Griggs, was this late game, though, between Denver and Omaha. This was a good game.
Yeah, really exciting game. Both teams coming off of somewhat surprising upsets, at least Denver, and close all throughout. And Denver, unexpectedly, at least to me, advancing to just their second ever, I believe, is this right? Stalika is our researcher here, conference championship game in the history of the program.
Well, in this case, this was suggested by Chad, at least as far as their D1 history, because they did have a couple NCAA tournament appearances in Division II during the 90s, but we had to look this up, and this was 2005. They won the Sun Belt regular season title, but ended up losing the conference championship game to Louisiana and subsequently lost in the first round of the NIT at San Francisco that year.
Yeah, and Denver actually had been a D1 program technically, I think from the mid 40s all the way to 1980, then dropped down and came back up in the late 90s. No NCAA tournament bids at all that time, and there's probably about 50 years of D1 play in there combined, if not a little bit more.
Yeah.
And the team actually, though, was near the top of the standings early in the year. We were talking them up a little bit earlier in the year.
Mhm.
Then they kind of fell apart during the later parts of the conference season, but here they are, and they have a shot, a long shot, I think, tomorrow, but a shot against the Jackrabbits to go to the tournament. Griggs, can they do it?
No.
Okay.
I would like to see it. I'll be pulling for them. I presume their history without knowing it, but I'll say what I think it was is when the NCAA passed the rule that in order to be, no, that's not correct. I was going to say that it had something to do with hockey, but that wasn't why
No,
they
no, no, no.
reclassified it.
Denver actually is a big time hockey school. So.
Yeah, it is, and you'd like to see their basketball team get a moment in the sun, but I just don't think they're going to beat the Jacks tomorrow.
Especially
Let me make a
in Sioux
correction. They are
Falls.
big time in hockey and lacrosse.
Yeah, they
Okay,
are.
well, we weren't talking about lacrosse. Welcome back, everybody, to lacrossehd.com. This is our. It's late. Let's skip a conference.
boy.
We'll come back. We'll come back towards the end of the show. But let's jump over to the Big Sky next, which is a quick refresh here. We had the last two quarterfinals. There is a second one popping up, and it began with on Saturday the 10 seed and the 8 seed, two upsets. It continued yesterday with the 10 seed and the 8 seed winning again in two upsets. Then we went to the Montana State Weber State game. We thought Weber State, Griggs, looked like they had this game. They were up 10 early in the second half. Montana State came storming back. Two players over 25 points. They steal it, and we had at that point it was our fifth straight lower seeded team winning a game after Montana State won. Go ahead.
I mean, well, my Big Sky bracket is in the trash. which is not exactly how I feel about my. I don't know.
And then when we finally thought it's going to happen, we were going to have the complete upside down bracket. Salika, Montana ruined it all tonight by winning as a higher seed against Portland State in the late game.
Yeah, and I have a feeling Montana State could potentially be ruining the vibe by meeting in the conference championship game, but I would also have to do some further research if both Sacramento State and Idaho State end up making the conference championship, because I'm pretty sure it's been a very long time since either one of them has been in the tournament. But I'm pretty sure at least Idaho State has probably had a few NCAA
Sex
tournament bids in their D1 history.
Yeah, Sac State has been there. In fact, I mean, this was 20 years ago. There was a run where they were regularly hosting the tournament when it used to go to the first place team. But it's been a while, to your point. Uh, yeah, but Montana and Montana State, that would be a fun final, a really good rivalry between those two. So if the chalk holds tomorrow, and as it has through the whole tournament, the chalk
Let me throw one thing out there also, Griggs. If we end up with the Montana State game, and actually it's already there with the Montana Idaho State game, these are top range games, and they
Yes.
count in the top range standings.
Yes.
And I think on that note, we may need to check in on the top range standings here. Let me quickly find the magic number there. There's the top range. So we
Yeah.
have Montana, Idaho State now. If Montana gets two more wins, I don't think anyone can actually catch Wazoo at this point. But
Right.
they can pass Eastern Washington for second
Yeah, they
place.
can. Yeah, they can.
In
And
fact, if
that's
Montana wins this tournament, they will finish second place in the top range.
yeah.
And that comes with an automatic bid.
Yeah, the second place team and the top are very strange arrangement. The second place team gets the auto bid.
Only if they are Montana.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does Gonzaga have an open regular season game? Because when they finish the WCC, they really should play Washington State for at least
Yeah.
one winner take all game in the top
Yeah.
range.
All right, so we've got Sac State, Montana, Idaho State. What do you think, Salika? Do we have Montana State, or are we going to see another upset?
I'm gonna go ahead and pick Montana State, but I'm looking forward to the big sky is falling here.
Yeah, I agree with him, Griggs. I think that the conference comes back down to earth, and we end up with 3 versus 5, which is not awful in the championship game.
It's not. And if Montana wins, they end up with, I think, tied for the most overall wins in the conference, which is how it generally plays out in conference tournaments. So
Let's jump over to the Southland Conference. It was, I guess, technically quarterfinal round day. Lamar did not have a problem with New Orleans. Nicholls State did not have a problem with Texas A&M Commerce. Any thoughts on either of these games, Griggs?
it's just been a riveting tournament so far, played in front of huge numbers of fans. The fire department and fire marshals are probably exhausted trying to keep all of the fans at this event under control. There was and I mean no one at these games. I don't think there were 100 people watching.
Well, I'll give you a little bit of good news. There should definitely be a turnout for the
Yeah.
first game, at least tomorrow. McNeese
Yeah.
is hosting these games here in Lake Charles. They're playing Lamar tomorrow in the first semifinal. Corpus Christi against Nicholls in the second semifinal. What do you think about these games?
I think McNeese wins in a game that's even more lopsided than the 4 we've seen so far, and so does Corpus Christi, for that matter.
I think Corpus Christi Nicholls could finally be a good game in this tournament. Although the first
Yeah.
round game, Northwest State Commerce was a good one too. But I think that may be a close game. But Sleek, I don't see McNeese having trouble with Lamar. That would shock me if they lost or even had a close game here.
I hope people just remember to leave school and leave work early, because you're talking about a 5:30 local time tomorrow and also 4 p.m. local time on Wednesday for the championship game here in the Southland.
Yep, it is. They're sneaking that in there, kind of in the dinner hours. There for the
In
championship
between
game
ACC
Wednesday.
and Big 12 games.
Yeah.
We had one other conference that was in action today. It's the West Coast Conference. St. Mary's really did not have much problem at all with Santa Clara in the early semifinal. And Griggs, even though it's only 12:30 right now and we're only at halftime as we record this over the Gonzaga San Francisco game, can you tell everybody who's watching this tomorrow morning what happened in the game?
Yeah, Gonzaga got reamed at the half, made some huge adjustments, came out with a new intensity, and ended up winning by a score that makes it look like they were never sweating.
They're up by one at halftime, I believe, or maybe down by one.
Yeah.
Now, if for some reason Stalika, San Francisco somehow pulls off this upset, can you tell everybody what happened in this game?
No, that just means that all the DEF CON ratings went from 5 to 1 for all the bubble teams because they are going to absolutely be pulling for the Gales now.
Yes, if somehow San Francisco did win this game, and I'm saying did because you all know the result already, we don't.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, yeah, that this, there could be a bid thief tomorrow if they play St. Mary's. We will obviously talk about this game tomorrow night and talk about the St. Mary's, probably St. Mary's Gonzaga championship game as well. But if it is St. Mary's Gonzaga, well, it won't have an effect on either team making the field. I think it should be a great game tomorrow
Yeah.
night.
I think so too.
And if it's St. Mary's, San Francisco, it's a very local rivalry among each other. We know we got Rocco Miller there in Las Vegas at these games.
Yeah.
That should be a huge one too. And maybe the Dons do steal a bid. We don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, Rocco also at the Southland tournament. So
Yes.
we'll get his feet on both of those.
And tomorrow we have another game that Rocco will be at tomorrow. It
Yeah.
is Northeast Conference Championship game. Wagner at Merrimack coming up tomorrow. Griggs, what do you think about this game? Can Wagner continue their Cinderella run and steal this auto bid?
I'm not saying it's completely impossible, but I do think Merrimack gets it. I'm glad that they're back in this game after being in it a year ago and even winning it, but not getting the full reward and experience of the NCAA tournament. I think this is great for the school, a great showcase opportunity for them, and I'll just say I'll be happy. I'm impressed with what Merrimack has done as a transitional program. They've been really successful, and I'll be happy for them if they win.
And if they win, they will finish their Northeast Conference careers, Northeast Conference life, undefeated Northeast Conference tournament games, 6-0.
Yeah.
And that will be a feat that no other team in D1 can ever match in their conference.
Right. Yeah. They're moving on to, is it the American East?
The Metro Atlantic. Yeah.
Metro Atlantic. Yeah. Because the Metro Atlantic's going out to 27 teams or something.
So now there will be Massachusetts next year.
Yeah.
Yes. Stalika, it is semifinal day tomorrow in the America East. One game on national TV there at 5 o'clock in that little intermediate area, and then an ESPN Plus for the other game. But New Hampshire's at Vermont. Bryant is at Lowell.
I don't think Vermont ever expected to be seriously sweating against Albany, but they ended up getting a huge scare, and we'll have to see how they do with their new lease on life against a New Hampshire team that historically not fared very well in the basketball tournament. And then you have to look at a team like Bryant, who has had some recent history. And my guess is we probably will see Bryant and Vermont meeting in the title game in Burlington on Saturday.
Yeah, it would not shock me if Bryant pulled off this mild upset. It's more of an upset because it's on the road, because Lowell's been a little bit banged up and struggling a little bit lately. I do agree with Slick. I think Vermont's going to pound New Hampshire.
They need to not. I mean, they need to not sleep through their alarm like they did against Albany. Albany almost eliminated them. I mean, with less than a minute to go, I think Albany had a lead at one point. And Lowell, against a UMBC team that, to be fair, had some moments this year where they did look kind of good, also sweated. But I'm with the two of you. I think Vermont wins, and I think it's Vermont Bryant in the final. I like how Bryant's been playing.
That final won't be coming up until Saturday. That's like early morning, 11 a.m. game. But we've got, I believe, 5 other conferences starting tomorrow.
Yep.
Starting to get into some of the big conferences here, including ACC opening round day. Let's start with the first question, Mr. Salika. Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, NC State, Louisville, BC, Miami tomorrow. Your thoughts on these 3 thrilling games?
I think the question here will be, how long can Georgia Tech continue a potential run of sabotage here? Because if they're
playing Notre Dame, though. This is the type of game they lose. They
can
play
take
North
out
Carolina.
Notre Dame, Wake Forest, and Pittsburgh. They will not be getting love letters from the conference office, I will assure you.
I think they lose this game. I think they needed to be playing Duke in their opening round
Yeah.
game. uh,
But has
Great.
Notre Dame really won a game in the conference away from home would be my question.
Ugh.
This is ugly. I mean, at one point, a couple of these teams, I mean, look at Miami. The fact that they're the 14th seed is, when this was a team that preseason was, people were picking this team as a Final Four preseason.
Who did that? No, nobody did that. Nobody did that. Nobody here did that.
Uh, let's go to the bigger question here. Who wins the ACC tournament? We won't know until Saturday, but Griggs, who do you think wins this?
Geez. North Carolina is the sensible choice, but I don't want to. I don't want to choose them because that's not any fun. But I can't see it is much fun as it would be to pick Clemson. I'm going to pick Clemson for the hell of it. Yeah, I think
All right.
Clemson wins 4 in 4 days and wins this thing.
I'm going to pick the only pick choice that makes any sense. I'm taking Carolina. Slika.
Yeah.
Well, naturally, I'm going to have to take the Trippers and take Duke here because I don't think Carolina is going to beat them a third time.
I think they will. I think that's how good Carolina is. I think that's maybe how not so good this Duke team is. I think this Duke team is a little overrated.
Of course, Carolina is going to win it, but I can't pick the. I can't pick the obvious selection.
Let's go to the Big 12. It is opening round day.
Woohoo!
UCF, Oklahoma State, and Sleeka, you're going to be glued to Cincinnati, West Virginia, are you not?
No, I will not be skipping work to watch that atrocity.
I'll be watching it at work.
Bigger question, these two games, I mean, I think UCF and Cincinnati win this. I mean, both teams have been in our bubble for quite a while this year, although I think they've both fallen off at this point. But Sleeka, let me start with you. Who wins the Big 12 tournament? Because this, other than these four teams playing tomorrow, you've got teams that are either all in the field or or at least seriously still on the bubble.
I know they're sitting out a couple players, and I know it seems a little off the radar-ish. I'm still going to go with Kansas in their de facto home here in KC.
No, neither Hunter Dickinson nor or Kevin McCullough, their two best players are not going to be playing this tournament at all. I don't even know they get past Cincinnati without them, Sleek. I'm sorry. I'm not with you one bit. I'm going to go. I can't. I want to go against Houston. I don't know that I can. I'm going Houston.
I can't.
I really want to go Iowa State, but I can't do it. I can't do it. I almost said it, but I'm going Houston.
Yeah, this Houston team on a neutral floor, I think that they're the best team. If you were to say you can have the other 13 teams in the conference or Houston, I'd probably take the other 13. But it would be a 55-45 scenario. There's a lot of good teams in this league, but none of them are as good as Houston.
I'll throw this out here also. It's a little bit early call. Not only do I think that Houston wins this tournament, I don't think Houston's going to lose another game at all.
You think they win it all?
I think I don't think
they're certainly good enough to. Yeah.
And they're going to be cutting down nets on April 8th or whatever that date is of the championship.
April 8th. Game. Yeah. Okay. I mean, they're good.
In fact, with that, you don't need to see anything more about the season. Season's over, guys. We'll see you next year. Oh, no. Okay. I could be proven wrong. I've been proven wrong many times in my life. A10 tournament kicks off tomorrow. Griggs, look at this.
All right.
We have Fordham, Davidson, LaSalle, GW, Rhode Island, St. Louis. I will throw this out there. I'm more excited about these three first round games than I am about those ACC or Big 12 games because it's just more fun, I think, in a league like this.
Yeah, I will watch all three of these games. Fordham was so much fun last year. Kind of a disappointing season this year. But yeah, there's something to look forward to in all of these. Because it's A10. This is the best league.
It is a fun league. And Sleeka, Dayton, only the 3 seed. They're the only team that's clearly inside the bubble. There may be an argument for Richmond at some point, especially if they can make a run in this event. Who wins the conference tournament, though?
I do not think Dayton gets past the semifinals. I actually think Loyola is going to be my pick to win the A10 tournament.
Good pick. I am picking Loyola as well. I think they win it.
I'm not going Dayton, but I'm going to go Richmond.
I like
And you know,
Richmond more
I'm
than
looking at this.
Virginia.
I'm looking at this Richmond VCU semifinal because I think VCU is going to get past UMass, even though they've got to play an extra game. I'm really looking at that
Richmond
game as
better
a great
not
game.
overlook their they better not overlook their opener against George Mason. Keep in mind they lost against the Patriots last Saturday. Granted, that was
Yeah.
on the road.
You know
I
what?
love
I'm
Christmas.
going to. I'm changing my pick for this tournament. Can I do that?
Yeah,
I'm not picking Richmond. I'm taking VCU.
it could happen.
A surprise pick to win this event. They get they get past Fordham or Davidson easily. UMass, good season under Frank Martin. I don't think they really have it this year. They get the rivalry game with Richmond. They win that, and then I don't know if it's going to be Loyola. I think it's going to be Dayton in the finals, but they steal a bit on Selection
I
Sunday.
like Chris Mooney more than I should. I always overvalue Richmond. I just can't. I've learned my lesson finally. I'm not picking them.
Yeah, I'm staying with the same city, but I'm going VCU.
Yeah,
Let's
I'm
jump
going
over.
Loyola. You're wrong.
Speaking of
It's going to be Loyola.
Metro Atlantic in my backyard here in Atlantic City, we have opening
Three
round
more
day.
great games. This
Not
is
only
just
that, not only that, but they play the women's first round games in the morning. There are 6 games in one day here in Atlantic City. It's a six-tuple header. I'm not going this year, but
yeah.
we got Mount St. Mary's Canisius, Iona Manhattan, the #1 rivalry in the conference, in the
Yeah.
7-10 game, and Niagara Siena Griggs.
Yeah, and how much fun is it that we get an Iona Manhattan game, another one on, I mean, in the opening round of the tournament. Granted, we're kind of, for a while, we were used to seeing them play each other for the championship. But I don't know. Even though that they're only, well, it's bragging rights and it's the right to play another day. That one's actually kind of that might be one of the more fun games of
Hey,
the
hey, we've seen multiple times teams come out of these opening round
Yeah.
games and make it to the finals. So
Oh,
don't
Iona, we've seen Iona do it.
want to win it out of the 9 seed or 8 seed or
Yeah.
what it was. But Stalika, who's going to win the Metro Atlantic at the end of the day?
We have not mentioned the name Tobin Anderson all year ever since his miraculous run at FDU. Iona's had a very quiet season, but I could easily see them pulling a string of upsets in a tournament that's been very unpredictable. So I am not picking Quinnipiac. I'm not picking Fairfield. I'm picking the Gales of Iona.
Wow.
I'm gonna go up to Poughkeepsie, New York. I'm taking Marist.
I'm gonna,
Griggs.
I'm going Fairfield.
Okay. None of us are going Quinnipiac then.
Yeah, I want. That's who I'm rooting for.
Zach,
but,
Zach is taking Quinnipiac, no doubt about
Yeah,
it. So
right,
he's not on the
yeah.
show
No, he
tonight,
might pick Marist.
Mhm.
He'll also be like one of 5 people in the world that can find Poughkeepsie on a map.
It's not that far. It's just saying it right off of the New York State Turnpike there. It is opening. This is the game of the day, the conference of the day. It is opening round 8-9 day in Conference USA.
Yes.
I mean, I don't even know why they
massive
bother only putting 9. They should only take 8 in this conference, honestly. Jacksonville State, FIU. At least it's not on FIU's home court.
No, but I don't like this tournament anymore since there's no curtain. It's just not the same.
So
They should
no
play
thoughts
the
about
men's
tomorrow's
and the
game.
women's tournament at the same time with a curtain.
Well, I think they should play there should be a curtain tomorrow.
No, they're playing the women's game at 6:30, the men's game at 9, and then they're going to play the women's games in the afternoon going forward until Friday. They'll reverse it. But Sam Houston gets the regular season title. Louisiana Tech had been our pick all year. Liberty had some talent. Western Kentucky made some noise during times of this year. Even New Mexico
Yeah.
State made some noise. Griggs, I think this is a pretty wide open tournament. Who do you got winning it?
I think it is Western Kentucky. They're a bit of a dark horse. And they certainly have a tendency to let you down and underperform. They don't seem to play up to the sum of their parts. But I don't know. I just have a feeling that they can win this. I'm going with the Toppers.
Salika?
Not quite a believer in Sam Houston yet, so I'm going to go with Louisiana Tech to finally break through after recent disappointments in Conference USA.
I'm with you. I'm going Louisiana Tech as well. I also am with you because I hit the wrong button again and do not have the screen share. Let's get that back. It is time to go to our NCAA Tournament Survival Board. This is where we are tracking how many teams are left with a chance to win the NCAA tournament, take home the championship. And heading into play today, there were 226 teams left with a shot to win it all. As a result of tonight's games, let's find out how many are left. 215.
Yeah. So
215 teams left. It will actually, if Gonzaga wins, it will drop to 214. If Gonzaga loses, it will remain at 215.
yeah. So again, we've eliminated close to 148 teams, 147 teams so far
A
throughout
lot of
the 8
pressure on
days.
Cincinnati tomorrow as they try to make the top 200.
Yeah.
Let's kind of scroll down here, take a look here, because we've got teams in various different categories now. This is something we do for the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee, though, right, Griggs?
Yeah, we do it for the committee, and it essentially tells them how they need to sort of organize themselves, who they need to take, who they need to ignore, and who they need to discuss.
And we have
Those are
different
the
categories. Different
Yeah.
categories. So some teams are called locks. So, for example, Kentucky is a lock in the SEC there.
Yeah.
So
Committee doesn't have to worry
if-
about them, just take them.
Let's take that. Now, Samford is a lock also in all caps and in bold. What does that mean?
It means that they're an auto bid. And what determines the auto bid is that Chad puts a team in all caps and bold.
Yes. So I have not done that yet in the Southland, for example, but we will by some point.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, there are some teams that are in red and crossed off, like East Tennessee State. They lost tonight. If
Yeah.
a committee member goes, I wonder if we should take East Tennessee State, and they look at this, what does it tell them?
You should not take them. Like they're done playing. You don't even need to look at them anymore. There's no possible eventuality of an auto bid winner.
There's also some teams that are listed as auto bid only, like Lamar, but they're not crossed off. If a
Yes.
committee member is thinking about one of those auto bid only teams for an at-large bid, what does this tell them?
That you need to consider where you would put them if they won the auto bid, but you are not to select them.
So you really shouldn't really spend any time thinking about them until they win the auto bid, or
Right.
you
Yeah.
get to Saturday or Sunday.
Mhm.
But now, here's the interesting thing. Texas A&M, they're in green and listed as under consideration.
Yes.
Now, if there's a committee member there and they're having this big debate, A&M in or out, once the committee member goes, I know what to do. We'll go to the Hoops HD Survival Board. What happens
Yeah.
when they go here and they see A&M in green?
Well, it's rough. You have to stand firm, and we have to just tell the committee that's when you're going to have to decide on your own. We
We're not
can't
going
do it.
to
Yeah.
make the decision for them. Okay, we
Yeah.
Well,
leave
here's
it.
the tricky part.
Yeah.
There is a tricky part for Texas A&M, though. I mean, they're listed in green. However, they also listed in auto bid only, and they're all listed under eliminated. So that could
Yeah.
present a potential issue for the committee.
Right. And
Uh-huh.
the reliability of the survival board, Chad, I believe is off the charts. We've been doing this for what, 12, however many years we've had the survival board. There's been over 4,000 different teams on it. And we've never gotten anyone wrong other than the one we got wrong.
Well, hold on a second. We have never got anything wrong ever.
Yeah,
The committee
right, yeah.
made a mistake
The
once.
committee made a mistake that year.
Obviously,
So out of the 4,000
obviously
teams,
I've got a theory actually. I think the internet went down on that
I
Sunday
think
in the
that-
room.
Yeah, I know. Like we had taken them off the survival board,
And they didn't know because we took them
yeah.
off on Sunday. And
Right, yeah. But yeah,
Uh,
I mean, they've never selected a team other than that one that was not on the survival board. Out of the 4,000 something teams that have been up there, that was the only one, and it was because the internet went down.
that's a 99.99999% success
Yeah.
rate, Griggs.
Right? Yeah, I mean, it's just unbelievable the success rate of the survival board.
Let's go to our top 10 lists. So these are our top 10 things to see at college basketball games. We've been counting these down since our preview day for championship weeks. There's 14 shows that we're doing total here. So we have our top 10 plus 4 honorable mentions. Quick review of what's already been things to see. Great things that we say you need to see at college basketball games include the Hornets Nest Trophy,
Yes.
the Kennesaw Banana.
Yes,
We
yes,
love this
yeah.
guy.
Yeah, we love that guy.
Keggy the Keg,
Yeah,
greatest
well, I
mascot
remember
out
him.
there.
Yeah, greatest mascot.
The incredible sidelines up in Bangor, Maine. I mean, just look at that straight line there.
Yeah, that's just a gem in college basketball. Yeah.
The Detroit book guy.
Yeah, I love that guy.
I mean, how many books has he been through since we started championship week? I don't know.
I
Let's
don't know.
find out.
He's just, I don't know, but Detroit hasn't been playing. Maybe none.
We need to get a
Rocco-
book for the
Rocco
guy that's
Miller.
sitting next to
Rocco
him.
Miller. Yeah. You see him everywhere.
He's on our podcast. He's at
Yeah.
every single game. He's at
He's at
3
two
games
different
right.
games right now, even though there's only one going on. It's unbelievable where Rocco comes in.
Red Panda, the greatest
Yes.
halftime act out there. And last night, they
I don't.
came in.
I don't know how this was only number 7.
Caleb and Andre, the Mississippi Valley State announcers.
And Andre, that's game! and that will be game! And that will be game! And that's downfield that first win! First ball, we're throwing the court! We're throwing the court!
They are the best, absolute best announcers. These guys should be
That's the
number
best
6,
call
5,
I've
4,
ever
3,
heard.
2, and 1 also.
We're 1-30 in the swag.
We'll play that the whole thing one more time at some point before the end of
Yeah.
the championship week for you. But
Probably during
let's
the SWAC tournament.
let's go to number 6 on our list here. Ready? We have a little drum roll here. Number 6 thing to see at college basketball games: refs watching TV.
God. How is this ahead of Caleb and Andre?
Is this not the greatest thing? You get to actually, when you go to a college basketball game, you get to sit there, especially in the last 2 minutes of the games, and watch the referees go back and watch themselves on TV, watch another game on TV, watch an old Seinfeld rerun, whatever they want to watch. They do it during the games, Griggs.
Yeah, and sometimes for 15 minutes throughout a game total. Like you know, a couple of things. I think television made its debut in America anyway at the World's Fair in 1939. There was closed circuit television during the 1936 Olympics in Germany. And this is, while it's done many great things for us as a communication device, as an entertainment device, this makes me wish television had never been invented. Refs watching TV.
One of those great things that I guarantee you can see at every college
Any
basketball
game. Yeah, there are the only thing you'll see at more college basketball games than Rocco Miller is refs watching TV.
Okay, on that note, let's pull this out and go to the final thoughts. Quick note, as we've been recording this, halftime ended in that West Coast Conference game, and as Griggs told you, Gonzaga came out storming. They're already up almost 16 points in just a few minutes we've been recording this show.
Yeah.
They're going out to play St. Mary's tomorrow in almost all likelihood. Stalika, go ahead, your final thought.
I think that is what Michael Scott would call a corporate punishment for San Francisco right there. But at least tomorrow, there's going to be a lot of snoozers as we start to get to some of these 5-tiered conferences. But there are going to be, like I said, plenty of auto bids being passed out with the Northeast Conference. You get the Horizon, you get the West Coast rematch between Gonzaga and St. Mary's. You're also going to get the Summit, who finally gets moved up to CBS Sports because it's been a bloody shame that we've had to scramble around for streams on the I think it's the Midco Sports Network for them.
Yeah, Midcon Sports Network.
Yeah. And the NEC
but not
title
as good
game,
as the old American Sports Network back in the day.
NEC title game also tomorrow, actually, with 5 title games. This is the busiest day before we get to the last 2 in terms of championships, in terms of auto bids tomorrow. So 5 of them being handed out. Griggs, you want to finish off the show?
Yeah, there's been a lot of hand wringing, and we see this every year to a point of how conference tournaments are not fair to the first place team because it devalues the season. I get why people feel that way. I guess my counter to that is, first of all, I completely understand that point of view. There are times where it seems grossly unfair in the Big South, for instance, that who won that? That UNC
Longwood.
Asheville and
Longwood.
that Longwood could get it and High Point wouldn't when High Point was the best team. But I guess my response to that is, well, okay, say you did take the first place team in conference play. Well, then for an under the radar conference, what does that mean for the games in November and December? You and I, well, the 3 of us and most of us at Hoops HD understand that we love the under the radar teams, and we know that in November and December, those are crucial times of the year because it is their chance to play their way inside the bubble. So I would argue that conference tournaments actually don't devalue the season if you look at it holistically. And the other thing I'll point out, as much carnage as there's been this year in the different conference tournaments with some of the top seeds losing, by the time the tournaments are over, even with all of this, Longwood is the only tournament winner that didn't at least tie for the most number of conference wins after the tournament was over. Even in the Big Sky where everything's going crazy, if Montana ends up winning the tournament, they'll end up with as many wins as they'll tie for it as the first place team, Eastern Washington.
If you include the conference tournament games.
Yeah, if you could include the conference tournament games, which I think you should, because those are definitely unquestionably conference games. So I don't think that in the grand scheme of things, while I get that point of view, I don't think they're as destructive as what most people think. I think that they do more good for the conferences than bad, while there's some that I would like to see reformatted and restructured and maybe more ladders and more conference and more campus sites. I don't think overall it devalues the season, because if nothing else, and I say this, I'm not going to reveal who, my primary team is from a one bid league. It's from an under the radar league, and we've been the first place team and we've been beaten. I know it sucks, but my response to that is win more in November and December.
Okay. And maybe what we really need is like the WAC baseball tournament format where it's double elimination, cross seeding, backwards, campus sites, extended bowling ladders.
Yeah.
See, that I will take time off for this year.
Okay, I don't even know what else we could say here. On that note, let's go ahead and pull this down. Get everyone on the screen again here, at least. On behalf of John Sleek and David Griggs, I'm Chad Sherwood. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back again after all, or at least most of the games are done tomorrow night with another video notebook. And coming up on Thursday, the Hoops HD mock selection committee is going to begin meeting. So be in Thursday night show. We'll be updating that as well. Sleek is all ready for those. He does our mock selection committee update every night when we get to Thursday. But thanks for joining us. Talk to you again real soon.